All right, this is lesson 3.3, related conditionals. So we're still going to be writing if-then statements, but we're going to be changing things around a little bit to get some different looking statements. And sometimes you can rewrite the statement and the truth value is more apparent if we put it in one of these different forms. So that's why we're studying these. It says I can write conditional statements and the converse, inverse, and contrapositive. I can state the truth value of conditional statements. So let's look at this here. So the related conditionals, so here's our original if-then or conditional form. But the three related conditionals are 1, converse, 2, inverse, and 3, contrapositive. Okay? And so each one just does something to the order or the statement itself. It says the opposite of the statement or it switches the order. So here's our conditional. If I'm 57, then my birthday is in 1967. Okay? Well, that's clearly wrong because I think this was written a couple years ago. But anyway, we won't worry about the truth value. Let's just talk about how we can write these new statements, right? So the converse just switches the hypothesis and the conclusion around. So in the original statement up here, the hypothesis is I am 57. And the conclusion is my birthday is in 1967. So to make the converse, you just switch those two pieces around. So it would say, if my birthday is in 1967, then I am 57. The inverse, well, it literally puts the word not or changes the meaning to say the opposite in some way. So whatever word is necessary to do that, okay? So you're going to not the hypothesis, and you're going to not the conclusion. So let's keep the order the same as the original conditional, right? But let's just put the word not in there. So instead of if I am 57, it's going to say if I am not 57, then my birthday is not in 1967, okay? And then the contrapositive actually does both. It's going to switch the order and it's going to not or negate each piece, okay? So now we're going to change the order and negate. So sometimes I have students go back to the converse and just negate the converse. So because we know that order's already been switched in the converse. So if my birthday is not in 1967, then I am not 57. So you can see the order's changed from the original, and we have the word not in there. It's for both, okay? Now, obviously, if a statement says not in the conditional, to negate that, you remove the not. So you're not always putting in it. It's not like you're going to say, if I am not, you don't need to say that twice. Just remove the not to make it the opposite, okay? So here's an example. If you live in Indianapolis, then you live in Indiana. So here's my hypothesis, and then here's my conclusion. And so we're just going to use IN for Indiana, and we're going to use Indy for Indianapolis. So cut down on our writing a little bit because it's not about the writing, is it? Okay. All right. So converse. Remember, converse switches the order. So I'm going to say if you live in Indiana, then you live in Indy. All right. The inverse. I'll go to red here. If, and then I just need to not them. You do not live in Indy, then you do not live in Indiana. And then the contrapositive, here's a black circle, I'll use that. If, then we can switch it and not it. You do not live in Indiana, then you do not live in Indy. Okay, well, we could figure out the truth value of these. Let's do that. I'm having my coffee here, so that's what you're hearing. So, the conditional, is it true or false? If you live in Indianapolis, do you live in Indiana? And I guess the question becomes, do we know of another Indianapolis that's not in Indiana? And I don't. So I'm going to say that this statement is true. Okay? The converse. If you live in Indiana, you live in Indy. Well, we're not in Indy right now, and we live in Indiana, right? I live in Greenwood, so you guys probably live in Greenwood. And we're still in Indiana. So just because we live in Indiana doesn't mean we're in Indy. So that is a false statement there. So how about the inverse? If you do not live in Indianapolis, then you do not live in Indiana. Well, that's not true. Because again, we don't live in Indianapolis, but we live in Indiana. That's also false. And then the contrapositive says, if you do not live in Indiana, then you do not live in Indy. Well, I think that's true. If Indianapolis is the only city with that name, and we're not in Indiana, we can't be in Indy. So this is true. And I want you to notice this pattern always occurs. We're going to find that the conditional and the contrapositive always have the same truth value. And the converse and the inverse always have the same truth value. They're either both true or both false. And that's why these can help us to rewrite difficult statements in a different form that sometimes makes it easier for us to figure out the truth of it. Okay, so that's why we do these. All right. So you try this. Write the converse, the inverse, and the contrapositive. Find the truth value. And I want you to assume the hypothesis is true. Okay, so we're gonna assume it is October break. Okay. All right. Stop the video, give it a try, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay. So the conditional here, I'm going to underline the hypothesis and the conclusion. And yeah, we do have a fall break or an October break, and there is no school, so this is a true statement. Okay? So the converse. Converse switches the order. If there is no school, then it is fall. I'll just call this fall. Fall break. Okay? True or false? If there's no school, there must be fall break. Well, that's not true. It might be Tuesday or Saturday or Christmas Day. Who knows? So this one's false. Inverse, it nots. If it is not fall break, then there is school. So I took the no out to negate that. So if it is not fall break, then there is school. Well, is that true? Is there always school if it's not fall break? Is every day fall break? Every day that we're out of school, is it fall break? No. This is false as well. Because again, just because it's not fall break doesn't mean it's not Christmas break or not Thanksgiving break or not spring break or not a weekend or a day we're not here. Snow day, who knows? Contrapositive. switch and not. If, oh boy, there is school, then it is not fall break. Well, I think this one's true. The truth value is the same for these, and the first one was true. So this is true. If we're in school, it can't be fall break because we're not in school that day. So this is a true statement. Now, please understand, it's just coincidence that these two examples worked out to be true, false, false, true. It could be they're all true or they're all false as well. So, okay. I'll give this one a go. In this case, I've got a sentence here that's not a conditional yet. So you're going to be asked to write the conditional first, then the converse, the inverse, and contrapositive, and give me truth value. So pause the video, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, there's my conditional. If I am fast enough, then I will win the race. Okay. All right. Converse then. If I win the race, then I am fast enough. Inverse. If I am not fast enough, then I will not win the race. And contrapositive. If I am not, if I, nope, sorry. Give me a second. If I do not win the race, then I am not fast enough. Okay, I know my writing gets sloppy toward the end, but if you have questions, let me know on that, right? Okay, so truth values, let's check those out. If I am fast enough, will I win the race? Well, I guess you'd have to be the fastest one. Maybe it should say, if I am the fastest, then I will win the race. So let's go that way. Yes, that's true. If I win the race, then I am not the if I win the race, then I am the fastest. Yeah, okay, I'll agree with that. If I'm not the fastest, then I will not win the race. Well, that's true too then. If I do not win the race, then I was not the fastest. Yeah, that's all true. Okay? All right, so you're going to find an IXL where you identify the converse, inverse, contrapositive. It's nice because you don't have to type it out or write it out like we were doing. They just give you choices and you make the right choice. Okay?